You're looking for a food preservation tool that actually makes life easier, not just another gadget with a glossy brochure. You want something you can set up in a small kitchen, trust to keep your meat, veggies, or batch-cooked meals fresh for weeks, and feel good about the money you spend. The biggest hesitation most of us have is, will this thing really seal the air out? Or am I just paying for a fancy box that looks good on the countertop? That's a valid worry, especially when you've seen cheap Ziploc bags go soft after a few days, or spent a night wrestling with a home sealer that never quite got a tight seal. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's walk through what a 14-inch chamber vacuum sealer actually does in a real kitchen, why the difference between auto and manual modes matters, and whether the price tag matches the everyday value you'll get. First off, the biggest thing that sets a chamber-type sealer apart from the more common external vacuum models is the way it pulls the air out. Instead of trying to suck the air through the bag's opening, the whole bag sits inside a sealed chamber. The machine then drops the pressure inside the chamber before sealing the bag. In practice, that means you get a more consistent vacuum on liquids and delicate foods that would otherwise get crushed in an external system. If you've ever tried to seal a bowl of soup or a marinated steak and watched the liquid get sucked into the pump, you'll appreciate this design. It eliminates the mess and lets you seal almost any container that fits through the 14-inch opening. The extraordinary vacuum effect the manufacturer touts isn't just marketing fluff. In my kitchen tests, the pressure drop hits the target within a few seconds, and the seal holds firm even after a week in the freezer. For a home cook who batch preps chicken breasts on Sunday and wants to keep them fresh through the workweek, that reliability translates into less waste and fewer trips to the grocery store. For a small-scale food service operation, it means you can prep sauces or sous vide bags in bulk without worrying about air pockets that cause spoilage. Now, who should actually consider buying this machine? If you're a hobbyist who freezes a couple of meals a month, a countertop external sealer might be enough. But if you regularly work with liquids, marinades, or delicate items like berries that get squished by suction, the chamber design is a real time saver. It's also a good fit for anyone who needs to seal larger trays or multi-layer packs. Think bulk buy meat cuts, whole fish, or even a stack of pre-portioned smoothie bags. The 14-inch width is generous enough for most restaurant-style pans, which makes it a viable option for small cafes, catering prep, or a serious home chef who runs a weekend market stall. On the flip side, if you're strictly looking for a compact, occasional-use device for dry goods, you'll probably end up paying for capabilities you never use. The unit's footprint is bigger than a typical handheld sealer, and it needs a dedicated power outlet because the microcomputer control and the vacuum pump draw a decent amount of current. That's not a deal-breaker for most, but it does mean you need a stable spot on a counter or a small table, not a cramped pantry shelf. The dual-mode operation auto and manual adds a layer of flexibility that many users overlook. In auto mode, the machine decides the optimal vacuum time based on the bag's thickness and the contents resistance. That works great for standard meat packs or pre-cut veggies. Manual mode shines when you're sealing something that might be sensitive to pressure, like a freshly baked pastry or a delicate herb bouquet. You can dial down the vacuum time and avoid crushing the product. In my experience, the manual setting saved a batch of herb-infused oil from looking like a mushy pancake, while the auto setting sealed a tray of chicken thighs in under a minute, which is impressive compared to the 34 minutes I'd spend with a lower-end model. Speed is another point that often gets lost in the hype. The faster sealing speed claim isn't just a number on a spec sheet, it translates into real workflow efficiency. When you're preparing a week's worth of meals on Sunday, cutting down sealing time from several minutes per bag to under a minute can shave off half an hour of kitchen time. For a small food service operation, that adds up quickly during peak prep days. However, the speed gain is most noticeable when you're using the auto mode with standard-size bags. If you constantly switch to manual for delicate items, you'll naturally spend a bit more time fine-tuning each seal. One practical weakness to be aware of is the learning curve around bag placement. Because the bag sits inside a sealed chamber, you need to make sure the opening is fully inside the sealing bar before you start the cycle. If the bag is too large or you try to seal it crooked, the machine will either stop the cycle or produce a